This is my life story. Thanks for listening. Was born on May the 16th to a mother who wasn't ready for me. She was only 20 years old, and my father, he was 24, see? That's the age I'm at now. If I had a surprise child, I'd probably pass out, or I'd calculate how long that I'd be around, so but don't hold it against you. Spent the first few childhood moments in the Inglewood bungalow with my dad and my mom alone. I was spoiled rotten. The attention I got and education she taught me, basic math, how to read, and I guess to unlock the door to my bedroom, because there was a day at the park when I wasn't sharing my ball with some other kids, so Dad decided to carry me off in his arms and threw me into my room, because it was Mom's fault I was so rude, because he blamed it on her, and the anger I heard would ensue an aggressive dispute. Through the crack in the door, I witnessed a glass bottle shatter onto the floor. A phone had slammed on somebody's foot I couldn't handle no more, so I busted out. Tiptoed around the glass, and that's exactly when I found my mother laying on the ground crying for help, but I was only a child. I couldn't do nothing about it. He kicked her down the stairs to the basement where her head would bang on the pavement, and I don't remember the day, but I can still recite how that tale went. We went to live with my Opa. He was some sort of savior to me. A coffee-drinking German wrestling fan with a handful of rings. He helped my mother get back up on her feet after the mess. I guess Freud would argue that's why I like damsels in distress. I wanted to be that knight in shining armor, but I have to confess, I think if your armor's shiny, it means you haven't faced a tough enough test. But believe me, I've had mine. We're not at that part yet. Prior to kindergarten starting, I moved into an apartment. Socially at school, it seemed I was drifting apart then. Other kids called me a teacher's pedal because I was a smart kid, so I acted retarded, at times intentionally disregarded any directions given simply to fit in with my counterparts. It doesn't seem worth it now. None of that shit worked out. All it ever accomplished or resulted in were continuous visits to the principal's offices and having them all call me a problem child. But I had some friends around the neighborhood, and it was there we would, climbing the dumpsters and get stuff for our forts we made in the bush. A couple of Jehovah's that approached us then. And by us, I mean Tanya and I. We seemed to have strayed from the rest of the kids. They said they had ropes and tarps for our forts. It was something to start with, but they needed our help to haul it, so we had to head over to their complex. Once we walked through the door, we were cornered and promptly recorded. Soon we were forcefully ordered by gunpoint for a sexual performance. They had us strip away our clothes, both of us helplessly exposed, and the next thing you know, I'm in the shower, hearing the screaming, no don't. But it was too late, and I blacked out. Somehow I got away. My next memory in the bank is the introduction to Don't Conceal the Pain. Despite that, my life wasn't all bad. My mom found a father figure I could call Dad, but all I ever did was have the small chats with him because there wasn't any point talking about that. I'd just sit in my room, listen to music, and zone out and go out of tune. That was when Utopia became my new worldview. Project Identity was remedying my festering wounds. We moved to Airdrie and I asked a girl out in grade 4. She said, "Sorry, Shayne, but first you should learn to love yourself more." I went on wondering how the fuck I'm going to settle the score, because I just feel broken and torn, wishing I never was born. It may not sound that positive, but that was all a kid like me would need to feed these subconscious accomplishments. My intuition led to introspective dominance, and now my self-esteem is like a waterfall of confidence. But at 11 years old, I was left uncontrolled, so I became a bully when I fully embraced my new ego. BSB turned into Eminem, and I'm not saying I'm blaming him, but ever since I made the switch, he's been a major influence on what I aim my angst against, so when I get compared to him, I understand completely, but I'm really not that brilliant. Maybe this is arrogant, so bear with me, but there's a little voice inside my head that says I have a chance to fare with him. And another voice says, who am I kidding? That little kid inside of me who remains to be hidden, remains to be seen, who I see as remains of a victim. They ain't gonna listen to screams, so I dream tunnel vision and continue wishing, but these are the reasons and missions I hope to achieve, and the demons I'm beating to get them. So if nothing less, then I'll press to defeat the oppression. The depression's embedded in me ever since I was molested. I've second-guessed my abilities, but at least I've attested, and I'm surprised I even seem to have feebly addressed it. Anyways, I left off my autobiography in the 6th grade, a mixed tape of emotions halted at a fixed state. Because this may have been when I met the best friend that I would make. We'd hang out riding our bikes being kids and just play. It was great having no fake face to display. Ironically, I honestly felt more at home at his place. So to George and Shauna, I really want to just say thanks. You saved a little boy from ever toying with his fate. At that point, anyway. In grade 7, I got my first girlfriend by default. Her boyfriend just broke up with her when I answered the call. I guess the little Backstreet Boy lived to me after all, because I would tell her things like, "Babe, I'll catch you if you ever fall. I'll never break your heart. As long as you love me, I'm here." A tiny portion of me wishes that would reappear. Because through the smoke and mirrors, it's only loneliness I fear. I know there's somebody out there for everybody. I just hope she's near. I know I'm capable of love, just don't feel I deserve it. And not a lot can match the memory of having that first kiss. It wasn't perfect, but it served a purpose to put a smirk, grin, or anything resembling a smile on my surface. 2004 was a great year, though. Flames went to the cup. And by the way, that puck was in, Gary Bevan. You suck. Fuck. Getting off topic. Well, that was also the year my friends were introduced to drugs. I played a rebellious badass with an attitude acting tough, but when it came to that stuff, I wasn't experimental. Fortunately for me, the peer pressure was very little, because back then I was known for being an attention whore. I would have done anything if it simply meant that I got mentioned for it. My friends were cool though, they didn't criticize and they let me stick around. I joined the band with Joey and Dan, and that was when I had found I had a natural talent, a predisposition for the element of sound. I was a precocious percussionist, I could play with the drumsticks in my mouth. Okay, it's not true. But I was introduced to this instrument, and I would implement as a centrifuge from ingenuity and ingenues to improve and explore creativity more, so it opened the door for my poems and music and twisted shit and lived in this cassette ever since I listened to Limp Bizkit on a regular basis, trying to escape this fucking mess I called my life, so I guess you could say it was a significantly passionate outlet for me when I write. My repressed memories successfully got the best of me. They were readily expressed to get off of my chest eventually. You see, Dan had a way with the ladies. His afro made women crazy. In his Astrostar van with a mattress in the back, it was a masterful plan, so I thought, maybe I'm gonna try smoking weed for the first time. Because it seems to help these people unwind. Plus, my past was catching up with me, so I asked him, and reluctantly, he passed a blunt to me and fucked me up, and fuck, I think I must have humped the wall subsequently, but then we went an exopia before Facebook was the only a social media exodus, and I must have sent 100 messages to test ridiculous pickup lines to whoever I thought was a sexy bitch and never could have expected or predicted what would happen next. As the weeks went by, I received replies. One girl seized my eyes because she and I happened to meet up at the right time. We synchronized. When we both needed somebody the most. Though we never dated, to this day no relationship for me has even come close. She reestablished my sense of self-worth, and it dispelled hurt. Maybe this sounds absurd, but if I ever became successful, I would absolutely still help her. We hatched a plan to have me travel wherever she lived and meet. Her father agreed and said I could sleep in the trailer out in the street. My uncle paid for the Greyhound. My aunt drove me to the station, thinking love was something I may have found. I was filled with anticipation. My heart was racing. I'll never forget the day when I finally saw her face to face, the most beautiful girl in the world. I didn't know what to say then. My heart had a resounding pounding like the thumping of a drumbeat I could stay and play on for days. I must have looked like a fool, trying to keep cool, probably drooling. I was so tongue-tied and gun-shy, my heart blew from its place. We had a terrific time together as we toured through a town. That transformed immediately when a particular friend of hers was around. And we had a moment alone together in that trailer one of the nights. She said we could never be together. The distance, plus there was a guy here she really liked. Uh-oh, blackout again. The wheels start spinning. I can't die a virgin. Well, technically I'm not. Hey, wait, rape is an option. But how could I live with myself? Oh, wait a second. A suicidal and murderous vision's creeping in. How could you do this to me? I have no contrition, no control, and no reason for me to even rescind. All of a sudden, thank God, the heavy breathing set in. I turned to face her and said, "It's okay, I get it. Nobody could ever love me. Inside, I'm ugly. But I love you, and I want you to know that you can trust me." And with that, I forgave and consoled her, as I gave her my shoulder. That day in Angel One, I let me be the one a demon would torture, just like I always do. But I felt abandoned. I remember standing on the side of a mountain, thinking if I jumped now, then all of my problems compounding would suddenly dissipate. I could just slip away. But what would my family think if they consequently betrothed my grave? The bus ride back home was the longest journey I would ever make, mulling over individualized suicide notes and what they would say. Tell my mother I love her, grandma it wasn't her fault. I had this whole hidden chapter from them that I never resolved. When I returned home, I measured out some capsules of Tylenol, chased it with some Bombay Sapphire, and I had a fight with God, saying, "I just learned of LD50. I know there's a 50-50 chance, so either life is one sick joke or I have a gift and you've scripted plans, but I can't handle these demands or fight these battles with these phantoms. All I wanted was acceptance, but your heavens seem to laugh, so I don't know what's left to do. I'm empty, inept, and confused, and with no alternate points of view, then death is the avenue I'll choose. And I'll induce a comatose by overdosing on these pills to fill the holes of broken homes and isolation is instilled." And with that, I passed out in the grass, drunk and drugged up. My life had amounted to a gamble, a faith mixed with luck. That was the end of CD1, when the healing had just begun. Because the feelings that had sprung from me that day was inspiration. I woke up in that field, covered in vomit with my jaundiced skin. Did my laundry, took a shower, and felt empowered by my pen. Suddenly, my silly songs seemed to hold some sort of importance, like the coordinates of a vortex that had swarmed me and sucked me in. It was like the key to my soul. These words wouldn't leave me alone, so I'd sit and read them at home to try and be a little more in control. High school was a total blur. I was in a hold of hers. Tanya manifested herself as a guide for me while I worked. An angel who would communicate in metaphors and in verse as if I was reborn with a curse and it would first inadvertently served as nothing more than an impervious quirk. So I quit my own band. Quick to adopt the quarantine because my qualms led to quarrels with Dan, so that's when I began to quarterback my own little game plan. Quintessentially and quixotically as I sang while I rapped. At 17, I bought my first guitar all on my own. Played RHCP, SOAD, Blink-182, and songs that I wrote. It was awful, I know. Even now, I still don't know the notes that I played, but I just found a way to come up with the basics, and amazingly, I put on my own concert. Ah, fuck. Skip some key parts there. After graduating at the age of 18, I went to live with my father. It was the first time I saw his side of the family after 8 years of this nonsense. I probably tried to abscond him because I still kind of feared his response to Mom then. Oh yeah. Plus I kept a little secret from back in grade 3. After those men had raped me, I went to school crying and Mrs. Burgess made me say things I never intended to get out. She asked what all the crying was about. And I figured Dad was never around, so if I lied, he wouldn't find out. So I pinned my worthlessness and my faults on him. Mom tells me the child services were called back then. She didn't know why, so she denied it and I sort of hid. Imagine the life I would have led if I lived in an orphanage. So of course I did feel remorse when I boarded with him. But how was I supposed to know I would ever recourse to him? And he would eventually be an enormous support system. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The guilt had all built up. He wanted a chance to reconnect with me and I felt so stuck. Anybody who truly loved me, I just pushed them away. I wanted to attack him verbally, but I had nothing to say. So when my father approached, I motioned him over cautiously. The olive branch he extended had extinguished my animosity, and I could sense he was genuine with his generosity, and even though he's twice my age, he's equally as lost as me. At 20, I had enough money to buy my own home. It was a 2-bed and 2-bathroom condo and it had a steam room. I never really got to enjoy it though because I always worked. The graveyard shift across the city and it drove me berserk. But it had its own perks. My boss, he was never a jerk. As long as the job got done, he promised me no problems would emerge. I used that time to organize and interpret my story. Burn some CDs and design merchandise in the mornings. That's where this shirt came from. We're products of the words we tell ourselves, and all my songs have helped me to define and find my inner self. So if you felt like you've been dwelling on your life too long, change your dialogue, use it as a fire log to light through hell. Getting off topic again. I promise I'm not in this industry for the marketing or retail. So anyhow, where am I at now? Age 21? Both sides of the family happen to be stuck under one fucking roof. As I spilled the truth on my birthday, it was the worst way, but the courage and the nerves came with the words to come clean about my past, and Tanya managed to push through. Reintroduced myself, told them music's my pursuit. And if I had the support, then I could persevere, cause over years of hopes and fears, it choked my tears of broken mirrors, it shattered my self-esteem. But I reconvened to pick up those puzzle pieces. So the least I could do was thank God and Jesus. Believe this ain't just a dream, I could achieve this. And that's where we left off, because I had my concert in my high school theater. I'm honestly surprised how many took the time to be there. So for that, I just want to say thank you. Rolled the momentum till I ended up at a venue in Toronto. Good Times Cafe at CMF 13. Cool, but I bombed though. It was a tough pill to swallow. But still it was followed by some industry models, beating me all those. Compliments of how I got so much potential and they wanted to represent, and I'd receive a tiny percent of everything I put my blood and my sweat into. Didn't have to write no more, they had the perfect image I happened to just fit into. Wait a minute, were none of you sons of bitches listening or paying attention? Were you too busy giving me your business pitches when I was sitting in the interview with you? Because I was in the room too, so I know you were there when I told you Project Identity was supposed to be about me living my life inside of a fucking mask. Now I'm walking the path to authenticity. So it seems a little bit contradictory to me, I believe, all of those contracts you're offering up to me. Plus it's also a little bit hypocritical too. But fuck it, what else am I supposed to expect to hear from all of you snakes over in the music industry? So I thought, no, I don't think so. I could just go and travel my own. So I went back home, ambition gone, practicing, nah, I'll just have fun. That was when I came up with the great idea to go to Europe, represent the land of hockey and maple syrup, see some crazy shit do something dangerous, and maybe it leads to my eulogy, but I'm okay with this because I'm still so surprised that I've struggled and survived. And along the way I met some real stand-up gals and guys. When I introduced my music to them, they influenced me to do it, so I'm picking up this pen and giving this shit another try. But I can't do this on my own. I lack some talents, and I'm broke. So if there's anyone you know who can shoot a video or produce the music for me in their own studio, then I'd like to meet them one day. Oh, and any DJs who can work with poems. Let's be partners. Any graphic designers or aspiring artists. I got some album covers in mind, but my ideas are impartial, meaning I could part with them. I don't know where to go from here. Maybe I should start something on Kickstarter or something. I was told success doesn't just happen to people overnight. But I'm lucky. We happen to live in 2015. So if I make this shit go viral, then my life may not have to spiral, and maybe I could inspire some people in the meanwhile with my freestyles. Maybe I finally found my one true calling. And it's ironic, I think, that the voices that have been haunting me ever since the trauma came, I just turned them into beats and harmonies, and now they're all bringing me the sense of resolve I seek. Maybe this is my happily ever after all, it seems. I was told not to believe in fairy tales, miracles, or dreams. But I'm not dreaming anymore! Because this is my life story. Thanks for listening. Was born on May the 16th at 10:56 a.m. My name is Shayne Gerald Herlov Christensen Franzman. But this isn't the end, this is only the beginning. I promise you, family, I'm gonna go and find my identity. And when I do, I promise you I'm gonna be somebody. And no amount of money or level of fame will change me. I'm still that same crazy, insane, and estranged teen that you've raised from a baby, but you love me all the same. And it's amazing. I don't know how to explain things, but it's funny. On this journey to the man that I am becoming, I'm learning a little something of what I value as a luxury. Number one being your unconditional love for me, quickly followed by number two, which is simply your company. I love you all.